We are
Oh,
back.
hi.
We're
Another
back.
another new reality show?
What?
What? God, there's
Some,
so many.
and we knew this when we took on this endeavor. When we said, yes, let's make a podcast about reality TV. And we all had favorites, and then they kept adding up and adding up. And now we have yet another one.
Well, welcome to the Cup. The Currently Unnamed Podcast where we put the T in reality. I'm Logan Murphy, just a guy. Here with my new favorite, I'm saying definitively favorite, sparkling water flavor. We are drinking Aha Fuji apple and white tea. It's very good. We also have normal water as always, because hydration, because it is currently 104 degrees Fahrenheit where I live.
Well, it's not that hot here, but it is still warm and hot. We're still in the 90 of the upper of 90s, so it is hot. But I am Lana. Enough about the weather. Let's talk more about me. I'm Lana. I'm Lana, your resident diva, here to give the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea. So if you have some tea, you know what to do. Hit me up, let me know, and we'll gossip about it. Um, I'm drinking water. It's in my Facebook cup, just water, because like we said, it's hot and you need to stay hydrated, people. Stay hot.
Well,
Remember that.
at least here it's 104, but there's like today there's less humidity. We've been like really
Wonderful.
humid recently for no reason, but like y'all have all the humidity down there, and I
Oh yeah. I'm about to say it might not be 104, but it sure feels like it.
yeah, yeah. And we're back to talk about the Challenge USA episode 1, an episode of television. If I'm being 100% honest, like
Look, I am a fan of the challenge. I like the challenge. I watch the challenge. Most seasons, I watch most of the seasons. I'm not gonna say I watch every season because I don't have time sometimes. But I was very interested because this was a season of all of our favorite reality show personalities are now in one place from shows that we've already watched. That's Big
mhm,
Brother, Survivor, Love Island, and Amazing Race. So it's like, okay, this is going to be an interesting, you know, dynamic to see
right.
all of these people who we've seen on these shows who've done some done really well, some done, you know,
Summer
they've
David
all
Alexander.
yeah, some were just on the show, but for the most part, it was going to, I thought it was an interesting concept. So I was excited about it. And I'm still excited about it. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm still excited about this season. I think this season is going to be something interesting. And we found out a lot of information right off at the top of the show. So we found out that not only are they playing for $500,000, but they're also playing to earn a spot in the first ever international version of the challenge,
Mhm.
which they're going to do a global challenge
Global
thing of all
domination, I think is what they're
yeah,
calling it.
I think that's what they're calling it. And all the challenges, I guess it's different versions of the challenges all over and different shows that
Yeah.
MTV does all over. And they're going to recreate a global domination challenge. And whoever wins from this one are going to join that group of
Yeah.
elite stars who's going to participate in another version of the challenge. I thought that was very
Yeah.
exciting. I was like, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Because to my knowledge, we only had, the MTV's The Challenge. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then from what I understand now, we talked a little bit about it in our cast assessment, so go check that out as well. But to my knowledge, they're doing 4 separate challenge iterations now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing US, UK, Australia, and Argentina. I
Mm-hmm.
guess maybe Argentina because they're filming all of these in Argentina. Unsure.
Probably.
But it seems like it's gonna be like brand new people from all of these countries competing on the challenge, which makes me optimistic when we get around to the challenge Australia to
Mm-hmm.
potentially see a lot of our favorites from Australian Survivor
Exactly.
making the move over to the challenge, which I really love. I
I
do
agree.
wish, I will say, I do wish there was a Canadian version because I would
Yes,
love to see more of our BB Can alumni. But to my knowledge, I think there's one or two that are actually going to be on the, like, rumored to be on the Challenge 39,
which is possible.
which I would love because we've seen a
Hello.
lot of Big Brother. We've seen Big Brother Canada invade the MTV VH1 space with X on the Beach, which I did not watch, but Jamar was there,
He was
and so
there.
was Davon. But Jamar was there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'm really hopeful that they will get the opportunity to make it into the mainline challenge. But I am really excited as well for the UK version, hopefully to get some more people from BB UK, because that is also a very, even though it is still on hiatus, even though that might be changing here soon. We might have another Big Brother franchise to talk about, which I would be excited about. But yeah, I think this concept is really cool, and it's adding a lot of freshness to the
Yes.
challenge. Where we talked about it in the cast assessment as well, Lana. I feel like there's just been a lot of staleness when it comes to the MTV's The Challenge as of
Yes.
recently. I think All Stars franchise has brought a lot of fantastic things. I've watched all 3 seasons, haven't podcasted about it, but I thought all 3 seasons were great. Thank you, Mark Long, for making that happen. Um, but yeah, I liked this episode because we got to see all of our favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Tasha, Desi, Shan, Azza, Tiffany. Like, I'm
Yeah.
missing a whole bunch of people, but
Those are the ones we care about.
those are the ones that came to mind immediately. To nobody's surprise, they're all Black women. I
Because
mean,
everybody, because
I will
anyway.
say, I will say the person that I was the most excited to see, we didn't get to see him a whole lot, but I was very, very fixed on every time Leo was on screen because it's
Okay.
been a minute, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I forget that he played a very strategic game as far as the Amazing Race is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, him and Jamal did on both of their seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall this was a fun time.
It was a fun time. I enjoyed it. So they get in and they meet TJ. TJ comes out and everybody's freaking out and they do all this stuff. And then they go check out the house. They check out the compound as they call it. And
Yeah.
the compound is very challenged like lately. I mean it's nice, but I don't like bunk beds. So for me, I'm like gross.
Now, see, this is a lovely. I appreciate that they're giving them like a full on like actual like space because I remember
Yeah.
a few years ago when they were literally in the jungle in I don't
Yeah.
remember what
Yeah.
country, but
Yeah.
like it
I
was
don't
what was that season? Invasion of the Champions or something like that, where they were
yeah,
literally just
so
like in the jungle. Like it literally was the challenge survivor, and I'm like, I don't need to see that. I come to the challenge to see them compete in very physically demanding challenges and then go out and drink. Like
exactly.
that's what
Yep.
I've come to the challenge to see. Now, I would
Yep.
be remiss to not bring up one of my favorite quotes that I've heard in a minute on reality TV coming from none other than Tyson Apostle, who we will talk about a lot on this episode. But Tyson starting out the season saying, I've never felt closer to God than being handed $1 million check from a large corporation for lying and cheating on national TV.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see Tyson too. Like, I know we got to see him on Survivor Winners at War, but I love Tyson. There's something about him for me that just like, I'm a big fan. So I was happy that we got him to start the season.
I enjoy Tyson. I think he's gonna be a fun addition to this cast. I think we'll talk more about Tyson later because
Yeah.
there's a lot to talk about with Tyson.
Yeah.
So they go check out, like I said, check out the compound. Everything is great. Everybody's talking, mingling. We already had the little awkwardness between Cache and Cinco. Um, because Love Island, of course, is Love Island, and they're like, "Look, this is about relationships with us, and we don't work out." And during when they taped this, Cinco and Cache recently had broken up, so
Like
their
it was a
feelings,
couple months, yeah.
right? So the feelings were still fresh, and it was so that was conversation for for
Yeah.
feelings, and we got the whole edit of Cachet looking over as Cinco is talking to Tiffany, just generally talking. And I'm like, oh, please don't make this a thing. Because the last thing
I
I ever want to see is Cachet and Tiffany not liking each other over a guy. Like, that's some
I
nonsense.
I don't know if it'll necessarily be Tiffany, but I do fear.
No, it
I
might be
do.
somebody.
I could be somebody. I more so fear that this is going to be Cachet's entire storyline,
Story.
and
Yes.
I want her to be able to prove herself in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I just love Cachet.
I do too.
Easily one of my favorite casting choices of any reality TV show in the last like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like
Very true.
Tiffany's
Very
up
that.
there, Cachet is up there.
Yep. Very that.
Um, Marianne O'Ketch is
Yeah.
obviously up there. Um,
I just
yeah,
enjoy seeing I just enjoy seeing a woman who is as I want her to be as comfortable in this situation as she is in herself and about you know
oh,
in her
absolutely.
own skin because like she's a confident woman, we see that, we know that, but it's like in situations where it comes to matters of feelings and heart, she becomes insecure, and it's like I don't want that for her. I want her to be that boss, that boss chick that is just confident. She see him, it is what it is. You do you. Enjoy your life. I'm gonna do me.
Yeah.
And it's not I'm going to find somebody to flirt with to be petty. I'm just gonna flirt with somebody because I want to and I can.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of attitude I need for her. And I feel like he is probably at that point where he won't care. So I need her to get to the point where she doesn't care. And I hope it's not that's their story the entire time. I don't
Yeah.
want that to be. I don't want them to be socially awkward with each other the entire time. Focus
Yeah.
on why you're there. You're focused on the game. And I want to see them prove why Love Island is not just, they're not just there just to look cute and be beautiful. Like they got some skills to support themselves for why they're on the challenge. Because now we don't even know if they're going to be on the challenge anymore after this season because they're no longer on CBS. So I don't know.
I
So
know it's
it's so
yeah.
weird. So
And
I
then
hope.
yeah, the fun thing too is juxtaposing that with Cashel and Kira, who we
Yes.
both completely forgot were in a relationship because neither one of us really paid attention to Love Island season 1. I went back and actually watched the first couple episodes of Love Island season 1 the other day just cuz I was like I don't remember either one of these people, and it was so different.
Mm.
My fear with Love Island now being on Peacock is, are we losing Ariel Vandenberg? Because I
No, she's
love
still there, I think.
good because I
Yeah, I think.
she's one of my favorite hosts.
Okay.
Uh, I'm a big fan of hers, so happy to hear that. But yeah, juxtapose that with Cashel and Kira, who have been out of a relationship for a few years
Yes.
and are reuniting here, and we'll talk about them. I actually really like them both.
Yeah. I think, me personally, I could be totally wrong. My thoughts are she's like, yeah, I'm over it. She's trying to play like she's over it. I think he's looking like maybe I made a mistake. He having that boomerang effect, seeing her again. So I'm kind of like interested. Now that's a dynamic I want to see, and that
Right.
one I wouldn't be mad at if that's their story because and okay, and they're partnered together, which is well they were partnered
Well,
together
for
in
this,
this.
we'll
Yeah, they're
talk
partnered
about
together.
it.
We'll
Yeah,
talk about it,
they're
but
partnered
they're
for this
partnered
episode.
together. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, I would love to see that dynamic of maybe him feeling like, did I make a mistake? Did I lose something good? Can they reconnect? That'd be beautiful. I wouldn't mind that story at all. Sure, we shouldn't be talking about showmances and love on the challenge, but hookups happen on the challenge all the time. I just
Absolutely.
would love to see that. I would love to see that. But
Absolutely.
we move.
We we Lana, I don't want to. We have to talk about the cookout of it all. Well, I want to talk about the cookout, but we have
We
to
have
talk
to talk
about
about the
the
cookout.
Alyssa and Derek of it all.
Okay.
Um, so one of the first scenes we get in this episode is a sit down conversation between Alyssa and Shannon, who, let me just say, this one episode reinvigorated my love for Shannon St. Clair. I have to be honest. I just she is reality TV gold. And if they don't cross her over to the main line, they are losing out on something good because I can only imagine her fighting with Josh. Could you imagine Shannon versus Josh? I would
She'll
like
make
to see it.
she would make Josh cry.
Absolutely, and I would love to see it. But Shannon is like, well, I heard through the grapevine that, there was some untrustworthiness with the BB people. And I'm like, Shannon, girl, you know what you're doing, and I love it. Shannon, the producer, honestly, I'm kind of here for it. And Alyssa talks to Shannon about obviously explaining the cookout situation, because clearly Shannon didn't watch Big Brother, and explaining how she was blindsided by the cookout. And then in confessional, both her and Derek specifically use the word revenge in the context of obviously the four cookout members that are there, being Kylan, Ozza, Tiffany, and X. Now, they also both say that they understand and can appreciate the cookout, but they still want revenge. And I'm of two minds about it. I'm really curious because we actually haven't talked about this off camera yet. I'm curious what your perspective is on this whole situation. Obviously, we both are very large fans of the cookout. At least five of them. Um,
Yeah.
Five of them,
Okay.
yeah.
So here's my here's my thoughts. I get being a little hurt by coming into a game, feeling like you're building relationships, and you did, and that's the thing. You did build those relationships. No relationship that the cookout built with every person in that house was false. Everything was
Yeah.
true. Everything was real. They had those relationships. They build those relationships. They consider all of those people friends, family, even. Nothing was done out of spite. Nothing was done out of malice. It was just them playing the game. And once they got into the game and realized that this mission could happen, that the mission became the game. It was not fun for the cookout to vote out people who they were close to. It was not fun. They were behind the scenes laughing and cackling every time somebody walked out the door. It was the complete opposite most of the time. It hurt to see them go. I feel like revenge is the wrong word for Derek and Alyssa to use because I can understand not trusting them fully and wanting to work with them in this game because you did get played
Yeah.
by the cookout. You got played, and but that's the game.
Yeah.
And you can understand why you did it and still be hurt.
Yeah.
We can be hurt, and that's the thing. I was listening to the podcast that Ozzy did with Davon and Devin, and she addressed it perfectly for me, and I was like, it makes so much sense. What?
Can we first of all talk about how the Challenge USA recaps are being done by Devin Simone and Davon Rogers? Quite literally two of my favorite women to ever be on television. I listened to it the moment it came out.
Me too.
I am truly obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
I need Dave on to become a podcaster. Honest to
Mm-hmm.
God. Like I know she has done her YouTube channel in the past and I've watched every video. But
Mm-hmm.
like I truly need Dave on to be a podcaster because even just her voice, she is so engaging and just God, I
Mm-hmm.
love Davon. I love Davon. And I love Devin. And I wish Devin had come back for more seasons of the challenge, but she was iconic in what she did. Anyway,
She
sorry, continue.
she said, Devin already said, my body is telling me no challenge for me
She's like,
ever.
"Oh, I'm hosting all the after shows. We're
I'm
good. I'm
hosting
still getting
after shows,
paid."
but I will not be putting my body through that nonsense.
I know.
But
She's one of my favorite challengers just cuz
yeah,
like she should not have been there. Let's be real. She should not have, but I love every moment she was in.
baby, she made it to the finals 2 times.
I know and I
she
love it. I know and
and
I
she
love
said
it.
she was like, I've made it to the finals twice, so pure. But yeah, back to what Asa said about she was like, I don't think she said revenge is a strong word because if you don't vocalize how you if you're hurt, she was like, because you have a right to be hurt. You have a right to be annoyed and upset and even mad if you wanted to be. That's your. But don't act like everything is okay. But then when you get on another show, you're doing confessional saying, I want revenge because revenge means you want to do so. It's personal. Like what they
Yeah.
did to you was personal. And so now you're coming after them and making it personal. So I think for both of them to say revenge might be too strong of a word. Might like I wouldn't trust them completely. Like that'd be a fool. You'd be a fool to trust the same people who took you out of a game the next game. No, don't
Absolutely.
trust. I'll be like, am I gonna work with them until I need them?
I'm
But
gonna
I'm
stick
not
with
gonna
this
like
Big Brother, but the moment I can,
the
well, she
moment I get
says,
a chance.
and she says that too. Like the moment later on, she's like, I don't want to see Kylan and Ozzy go this early.
Right.
As much as like it would be great to get them out, I can't get them out yet because I
And,
need
and,
them.
and I that was that part. I'm like, fine, that's perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
And you have you would be crazy not to do that. Her and
Just
Derek X would be crazy not to do that. So I'm like, fine, you can both bide your time
yeah.
and take your shot when you need to take your shot. I 100% agree with not trusting them this entire time and taking them to the end with you. Why?
Yeah.
So they can do it again? No,
Yeah.
fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's shame on me. So I get it.
Absolutely.
They're not gonna do that. But I think, like I said, revenge was just like the wrong word. It was too strong of the word because you don't want to get revenge. You just don't want them to win. I'm not. Revenge is when you hold personal grudges against people,
Yeah.
and I just that didn't
Rev-
sit well with me.
it didn't
But
with me either. Yeah. I definitely agree with you. It's like I definitely understand and I would probably have similar sentiments if I were in Alyssa or Derek's shoes. But revenge just wasn't it wasn't and
it just
yeah.
it just seemed it just was not. It made it more personal than it had to be. Like it's not that deep. I
Absolutely.
don't look that okay for content for anybody who don't know. Me and Logan played a game. I ended up inadvertently snaking Logan out of the game.
Sure did.
Now, and did I like it? No. Was it personal? No. But it was part of the game, and it's the game that had to be done. But
Absolutely.
if we got to the next game and Logan chose not to work with me, I would understand that because he can't in his mind like, look, Lana, we cool, I love you, but I can't fully trust you in this game because
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
what you did to me in the last game. And I wouldn't even be mad at that because
Yeah.
that's just the game. But for Logan to be
Absolutely.
like, I'm getting revenge on you for
Lana,
what
I'm getting revenge on you.
and I'd be like, that's very personal and unnecessary for just a
It
game.
was very personal. No, I'm kidding. But no, I mean, honest to God, drink every time they say cookout. Like
Ugh.
that's we're at that point. But let's let's move on to the other big topic before we get into the daily challenge, and that's Shannon. because
Mm-hmm.
Shannon has this moment where she's
She's
talking
a moment.
to. She has a moment where she's talking. It's I believe it was Kira and Justine. I
Yes,
forget
that's what
who was in
I
the
definitely know with
bedroom.
Kira.
Kira was
I
definitely
definitely
there. I blonde woman. I don't know. That's not
maybe
Justine.
Sally.
Uh,
I'm
it
not
might have been
sure.
Sully. It might have been Sully. Um, but Shannon is kind of having a moment where she's like, I'm freaking out. I don't like know if I want to be here. And that becomes like the running theme throughout the episode. What we know now, and we knew at the time of our cast assessment, but what we know is that her boyfriend Josh was an alternate and just didn't get picked. And I'm pretty sure she agreed to do this thinking that her and Josh would both be in the house. And
Yeah.
so now that she's in here, not by herself, because she does have people from her Love Island season. She just doesn't have her boyfriend. And so I feel like it put her in a very insecure position that I'm going to be honest, this is no shade to her, but it's probably a position she has never felt before. And
Mm-hmm.
so being in that position, she's like having a moment where she's like, in confessional, she's like, even the baddest bitches get nervous or something like that. And I was like, that's very fair.
I mean, true,
Um,
because in a position like this, like in life, maybe in general, when she's out and like when she is going to bars and clubs and flirting and meeting people, she's a beautiful girl. She
yeah,
doesn't have this insecurity. She knows guys are going to talk to her. She knows
yeah,
people are going to want to be around her. But this isn't that kind of situation. This is based on your skills, your
yeah,
strength, and be able to compete in the challenge. And she knows her own flaws. We all know. Like she's
yeah,
like, I did push-ups and I'm hurting for doing a couple
yeah,
of push-ups. I don't do this. This is not who I am. I'm not a workout person. I'm
yeah,
not that kind of person who is, you know, competitive like that. Like I want to go jump off a building and climb tires and beast
yeah,
through competitions. That's not her life. And so for her to have that moment, seeing people coming in, seeing people who this is their life, this is
yeah.
what they do. They play like she's not a strategic person. That's not the strat. She didn't get on these strategic games. She got on Love Island to find a man. She
And
and
she
she
did.
succeeded in her goal. She did what she came to do.
Yeah.
So, but this was not her. She's not a strategic girl. She doesn't do this thing. She's not a workout girl, like she said. And so, coming into this new environment around all these people who are gung ho on competition and gameplay and working out, and it was just, it's intimidating. And so, I
Yeah.
get it. I understand it, and I'm like, everybody has a moment. Now, I'm not gonna lie. When it first happened, I was like, "Girl, you're not crying on day one, no,
Someone
girl."
always does. Someone
But then
always does.
Yeah, but then I thought about it. And I was like, but I understand why. This is not her. This is not something she feels comfortable in, and being put out of your comfort zone is kind of like it's scary. So I
Meanwhile,
got it.
I love that all of the other Love Island people are like, oh, we're excited to be here. Like, this is, especially, I would say, like, Justine and I think Cinco were the ones that were like, that would probably fit in the best in the challenge universe.
They're ready
Cachet,
to.
I'd put in that category as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're ready to. Show the world that we're not just pretty people who's looking for love on a TV show. We
Yeah.
can actually do some stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So she had a moment,
Hmm.
but the next day was the challenge.
Yeah.
And she quickly got her life to go together. She quickly
Yeah.
took herself and gave her that pep talk and moved on. And so we'll see. So the challenge is now that they have to go down a 22-foot building,
22
rappel
stories.
down 22 stories, not 22 feet, 22 stories, rappel down and do math on the way down in
Absolutely
pairs.
not.
In pairs. So TJ gives them an opportunity to pick their pairs, and everybody just starts picking. Now, what I found funny, and this is what I found out in this interview, thank you, Ozza and
Mhm.
Davon and Devin, that Ozza said she was not trying to pick Kylan at
Yeah.
first, that she turned to Derek and was like, "You want to be partners?" And
Oh.
Derek X told her, "No, I don't want to be partnered
I
with
forgot about
anybody on
that.
Big Brother." Now,
I
Yeah,
have
so
to be honest though. Like in this kind of game, that makes sense. Like
it does make sense.
I completely
And she
understand
did. She
Derek.
understood it too, because she said at first she was like, "Do I take it a type of way? Like I thought we were friends." But then she was like, logically speaking, if we're going to conquer and divide this house where it's not coming on us, we don't all need to be on the same team as each other. We need to split up and be with other groups. And so they can't easily pick us off because
Yeah.
we're, of the same show. And so it made sense. And she said the only reason she ended up with Kylie, because when she turned around after that conversation with DX, everybody had already picked, but he hadn't picked anybody. And
Yeah.
so they ended up together. But
Yeah.
it was, so the teams, you can correct me and jump in on some of them when I forget, but I know Kylan,
I have them all written down. So yeah.
but it was Kylan and Asa,
Yep.
and then Cashel and Kira. They prepared, and they were the first group to go. And they went. And they rappelled down, and everything was going good. Like nobody was freaking out, which I was very happy about. Nobody's freaking out. Everybody just did what they had to do, made it down, and get down to the bottom. You had to put in your answer of all this math. And Oz and Kylan get down there first. They're putting in their numbers, and then and it's the wrong guess. And then they have three guesses before they have to run back up 22 flights of stairs to get back to the top and do it again. And they did not get it right. And so they had to run up the stairs. In the meantime, Cashel and Kira have come down and put in their correct answer, and they're done. But we have to watch Asa and Kylan run up these stairs. Asa's struggling. She is struggling. She knew she was struggling. Kylan was very helpful. He wasn't like yelling at her, which I appreciated. He was very
Absolutely.
concerned about her, and he was, he was doing what he had to do. And they got up to the top. They did it again. Realized he made the mistake on the math and not her, because all she was doing was calling out the number. He made a mistake. Got down there a second time. Put in the correct answer, and Ozzy collapses.
I just this so we've seen this scene since like the first trailer. Like this is one of the things that they teased in the first trailer, and I was like, oh wow, it happens episode 1.
Mhm.
Damn. I mean, I got it.
I mean,
It's
I would have
not.
passed out too, baby. I'll run up 22
Yeah.
flights of stairs. I am dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say this. Ain't nobody look as flawless as Ozzy passing out in their life. Like Ozzy passed out and
Right?
looked flawless.
I was like, I'm sorry. What is
What?
this?
Who
Oh,
who who passes out and look like a model? Like
Asa.
Ozzy,
Asa.
Ozzy. Her skin was popping. The sun was kissing her skin. Like it just and
Mm.
she just looked gorgeous. She was passed out, but she looked good doing it.
Yeah. So I didn't write down the order, but I
Mm-hmm.
do have the rest of the pairs. There's a few that I want to talk about because they just end up kind of being like completely random pairings that I'm here for. But our partnerships for this episode are Angela and Tyson, Kayla and David, who I have like when David popped up on screen with Kayla, it was the first time I had remembered that they cast him on this show for some reason. And they didn't cast like they literally had Josh from Love Island and Mike Holloway, the winner of Survivor Worlds Apart or some whatever, a Survivor winner, and they chose David Alexander over a Survivor winner. Just let that sink in. And now we're gonna move forward. But we have Kayla and David, Ben and Alyssa, which I think is the funniest pairing for me because they're just such opposites. We had Xavier and Tasha, Kylan and Ozza, obviously, Tiffany and Leo, Cashel and Kira, Desi and Cinco, Sarah and Enzo, Selly and Giovanni, Derek and Cachet, James and Shannon, Danny and Shan, and Dominic and Justine. Um, this is the point where we see Danny also talking about how his wife literally told him if Shan was in the game to not trust her. And then whenever they decided to go, they slayed it. And Danny was like, maybe I'm going to keep Shan around a little bit longer. And I'm like, yes, that is correct. That is correct, sir.
I mean, look, all these feelings are very fresh for a lot of people, and his wife apparently
I
was very fresh in the feelings.
I'm very curious what the turnaround time was between the filming of 41 and the filming of this.
Mm,
Because it had to have been after 41 filmed, so I think it was probably less than a year,
yeah, I
which is
know.
wild.
Well, it is what because Asa said that she was asked in October. The first time she was asked in October, and then she didn't say yes to do the show until like 6 or 7 days before it was time to go film, which after January, which was
Not
in
that.
Jan. So I'm thinking they filmed
Mhm.
either in probably in January.
I don't have that information. I went to look it up. I couldn't find it. Um, but yeah, everybody else goes. I had a few highlights that I pulled up specifically. One of them being that Enzo is talking in confessional about how weird it is that Leo brings up his cats so much. And I'm just sitting
When
there
his
thinking,
nickname is the Meow Meow.
anyway, I was happy to see Enzo. You know what? I was happy to see Enzo because I did not like him on 22, but I remembered how lovely he was on 12. And I was like, you know what? If you give just this like dumb, goofy energy and not what happened on Big Brother All Stars, you could stay a little bit. I don't want you to win, but you
Oh.
could stick around a little bit.
I just find it interesting. I'm like, your nickname is literally the Meow Meow, and you talking about somebody and their cats. But okay, go
And
on.
then And then Kayla and David go, and Kayla almost falls off the building.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Oh shoot.
Kayla, don't do
Like,
this. No, Kayla.
I was
And then
like,
they
somebody get
almost,
it.
and then they're the only ones that take all three of their guesses
Yep.
um,
Mm-hmm.
to get it right. But we had three teams that absolutely dominated this challenge, and that
Yeah.
they were Danny and Shan, which I love, Tyson and Angela, and Desi and Cinco, which I also love because I love Desi and I love Cinco and I love ha. But
Huh.
the winners of the first challenge are Tyson and Angela. Sure, fine. And they receive $5,000 each to go into their personal bank account. Now, money apparently is important on this season
Because you need to
because
get in the final.
yeah, so everybody starts with 1,000. You have to get 5,000 in order to make the final. So Tyson and Angela are now qualified to run the final.
Yep.
You can also earn money from eliminations. We'll talk about that later on. But Tyson and Angela win the challenge, and to nobody's surprise, Kylan and Ozza are last place. So they are going straight into the elimination. And now Tyson and Angela have to uh, decide who they want to put into elimination.
Yep.
And
This is where it gets interesting for me, folks.
mhm.
This is where the fun began. Because now it's I guess their version of the tribunal, but it's just two of them. So I guess it's just a bunal.
the duo, the
The
duo
duo,
bunal, the
the
duo
bunal,
bunal.
the duo bunal. Oh, sure.
Sure.
But, but so Asa and Kylan goes in to talk to Tyson and Angela, and they talk about who they would want to see. And Asa and Kylan both give their reasons why they think it should be James and Shannon. And then Angela brings up the fact that she thought that Shannon didn't want to be there. So if somebody doesn't want to be there, then that would be best for them to go. And it's a Love Island, and it's a Amazing Racer. So the blood won't be as it won't make too many waves. It would make no
Yeah,
sense to go against a Survivor or Big Brother at this point because it's very early in the game.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, and
that's the thing.
they bring up the only three pairs that don't have a Big Brother or Survivor person. I did not
Yep.
realize there was 14 pairs in this
Mm-hmm.
scenario. There were only three. It's Cashel
Yep.
and Kira, James and
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, and Selly and Giovanni, which was
Yes.
like wild to me.
Very well.
But we see um we they go out, whatever. James is worried.
Pause. Yeah, James is very much worried. James is like, look, I don't know. It might be me. I don't want it to be because. And this is where the game player came out in James. And I
I
was
loved it.
very, very impressed. Not that you don't see strategic gameplay in Amazing Race, but you don't see strategic gameplay this amplified in Amazing Race because usually you're just focused on what you and your partner are doing in
Yeah.
Amazing Race. And so you just really need to focus on what y'all do, make sure y'all get that together. But
Yeah.
this time, we get to see James in all his strategic glory.
Yes.
Um, he went to work. He went to work. Once he found out that he might be going in, he went to work and he talked to everybody. He made mention of, you know, Shannon might have said this, but now she has this fire under her butt, so she might not be the easiest target to cut out if you want
She
Ozza.
might beat Ozza.
She might be Ozza, so if you don't want Ozza to go, you might not want to put her in there. He talked to Tyson and was like, "Look, if you look out for me, I'm gonna look out for you later on down the road." And because his thing was, he said, "I know I've watched all these people play. I've watched all their
Uh,
strategic moves, and I know what will pique their interest." So he went to Tyson and he stroked that man's ego to a point where it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. It was
James,
masterful to watch.
James says in confessional, he's like, I know how Tyson plays, and Tyson always wants to make sure that he is set up for the end game. And this is what I'm trying to do. And I was like, this is spectacular. We find out all of this after we find out who Angela and Tyson voted for too. So we're in the arena. We're there. It's time.
Going into the arena, we thinking it's going to be
I was like,
James and Shannon.
no wonder they're giving us all this James and Shannon content. They're going home. Great, cool. I'm losing two of my faves, episode one. But no, because
No.
then Angela and Tyson decide, oh no, we're voting in Sully and Giovanni. And I'm like, oh,
Oh,
excuse me? And then we see
excuse me?
flashbacks. Shannon's talking to everybody. Like you said, James is talking to Tyson. Loved that moment. And so we see Kylan and Ozza against Sully and Giovanni in the
Which
elimination.
I don't love. I don't love. Okay. I love Giovanni
Yeah.
and I love Sally. I thought like
Yeah.
as much as I don't love it. I don't love it. But I don't want Kylan and Asa to go. And so I'm like, I knew it was.
Yeah. And I didn't
didn't
want
want
James
it
and
to
Shannon to go. That's the other one.
right.
And I don't
Exactly.
think I want Cashel and Kira to go.
Pascal
So
and
it's
Kara to
just
go. This is the problem we have when you cast people. We all like all of them. When you
every
cast
elimination
likable
is going to be
people, it's
horrible.
going to suck. It's going to suck. So but my reasoning for definitely not Giovanni is because I felt like Giovanni got so screwed on Love Island to begin with. The fact that he had to go in first, I felt horrible for him. I was like,
I mean, by the end of the
no.
elimination, I'm going to be honest, I didn't feel bad for him. I felt bad for Sally. So the elimination is not so fast. It's a classic challenge elimination, which I loved as well. So you have the giant pyramid structure. You have to knot the rope through everything and then untangle what your opponents did. And I have to be honest here. I thought Kyland and Ozza very much so balanced each other and both put in a lot of effort. I don't feel like Giovanni put in the effort that I was expecting him to.
I don't know about that. I might have to disagree with you on that. I think he put in the effort, but I feel like he wasn't as vocal as Sally, so it looked like he didn't put in the effort. Sally was very much vocal. She was like, let's do this, put it here, let's go here. And I think that's just her nature, and that's just who she is. And I think he knew that, and so it balanced. Like, he's like, look, you want to take control, I will give you that control. I won't be the vote. I won't speak over you, but I'm gonna just do what we say we gonna do and work. I think he put the effort in. I just don't think he was just as vocal as Sally, and which made it look like he wasn't doing his part. And I get what you're saying, because I could see why people would say that, but I just think that it wasn't him not putting the effort in. I think it was just he wasn't as vocal as people wanted him to be.
That's valid. Yeah, I think for me, it's just like there were times, and I went back and watched the elimination again because the elimination ended, and I was like, I feel kind of weird because I'm like, did they not put in the effort, or like what was happening? And Sully was very, very vocal, but I felt like Giovanni gassed himself out in the first half. And then in the second half, Sally was like doing most of the stuff. I also completely forgot they weren't on the same Love Island season. I thought they were for some reason. And so I was like, oh, why? I thought they had more of like a connection. No, they were on the same show, just different seasons. And so that was one of the other things James brought up to a lot of the BD people is like Sally and Giovanni might be from the same show, but they're not on the same page as a duo. And so, like, if you want to keep Kylan and Ozza here, that's what you need to do. But
I can agree with you on that. I think he probably did gas himself out the second half, which if you don't really know the show or know what the comps are, you probably don't pace yourself.
And I something tells me Giovanni's never seen the challenge.
I agree.
So, meanwhile, Ozza is losing eyelashes, still looking fabulous. Highland went into beast mode, and I have to be honest, seeing him in this very, very tight tank top, I was very happy about it. Not gonna lie to you, I was like, yes. But Highland and Ozza,
the way he was picking up Ozza and throwing her around, I was like, oh, yes.
I was like, wait, I can root for Kylan again. But then I remembered all of the dumb shit he did on Big Brother, and I was like, do I care? I don't think so. But Kylan and Ozza do win the first elimination of the season. Sully and Giovanni are our first boots of the season, and I'm sad.
I'm sad.
I'm going to be sad every week. Every single week. Like, it's just going to be bad. I wanted to see more of Giovanni because, like you said, we both agreed that like he got a little gypped on his season of Love Island, and I like Sully a lot, and I hope she comes back on some reality program. I don't know what, but I would like to see her on TV again. So, and then this is the point where we also found out in the elimination that the winners steal the prize fund of the losers. So Ozza and Kylan now both have $2,000. So they are 40% of the way to qualifying for the final. And we then find out TJ has a twist. The algorithm is in play, and partnerships will get randomized every single episode. And I was curious about that going into this. I was like, this doesn't feel very challenged. These are the pairs? No, they're randomized every week.
Especially Tyson and Angela, because they were going to steamroll every challenge, and they were like, we're going to be good because we ride this out to the end, me and you. And then TJ said, not so fast, y'all not together no more. Everybody was shook. I think it's a great idea. I find it such a great idea to have them all switch. now we don't you can't necessarily have the Survivor, Love Island, Amazing Race thing because you could be in a duo with somebody you're rid of. So
Yeah.
see how you
Yeah.
navigate that.
And I mean, that's that. Episode one.
One
That's
thing I will say, I did like because from reaction, Justine had a very visceral reaction to seeing
yeah.
Sally leave because that's her best friend. They don't, they don't go anywhere with that. Like she said, they have been together since the show. Like they live in the same building, neighbors. They love each other, best friends. So she
Yeah.
had a very visceral reaction, and I think this might set Justine off, so we'll get to see what kind of how she is in. Now this is when you
Yeah.
say revenge mode because
Sure.
now she's like, I have people who I'm now targeting. The
Yeah.
targets are made now, and so I would love, love, love to see Justine win the next challenge
Yeah.
and be like, Angela and Tyson, let's see what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
If they're partners or
Yeah.
whoever. But
Right.
I do. I'm excited about this season. I think the season is
Same.
going to be a good season. This episode probably wasn't the most exciting episode that you could
Yeah.
have for a challenge, but it was a bad episode. It
Yeah.
wasn't like the premiere of Big Brother 24, which just did not enjoy it at all. So I give it a B minus.
Sure. I'm gonna agree with you on that. But that's that. Thank you for joining us for episode one of this whole season of the Challenge USA. We'll be back next week to talk about episode two. And cheers.
Cheers, y'all. Bye. Bye. Oop. I didn't grab my cup because it's too far.
Oh
I
no.
dropped it.
It's all good.